In today's video, we're taking a look at some NHL trade rumors that we might see this offseason. Could a team like Nashville unload a guy like Matt Duchene to the Seattle Kraken? Will the Vancouver Canucks bring back defenseman Nikita Tryamkin? And could we see the Columbus Blue Jackets move a goalie like Elvis? Could he leave the building? We'll discuss the latest coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. Now, as I mentioned, we have a variety of NHL trade rumors I want to take a look at here today. First up, let's take a look at the future, though, of a couple of players. Not really trade rumors per se, but it could be involved in some player movement. And that's the Vancouver Canucks and the possibility of returning defenseman Nikita Tryamkin, who's played in the past couple of years in the KHL. Obviously, a one-time member of the Canucks is looking to make an NHL return. And it was reported before that he was interested in going back to the Canucks as early as this season. But the Canucks and the player could not come to a contract agreement. Looks as though the amount of money he was looking for just really did not fit with what the Canucks were looking for. Of course, we know the Canucks had their fair share and still do of salary cap issues due to some not so favorable contracts on the books here. But their blue line situation certainly is going to be changing a little bit this offseason. They do have some big contracts to take care of, though, for guys like Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson. Both are restricted free agents. Both are going to be due big significant raises. Many NHL insiders believe to get both deals done, it's going to be somewhere around that $15 million mark for both guys. However, if you look at the Canucks blue line, there will be some other potential holes there that could be filled with a guy like Tryamkin. For example, veterans Alex Edler and Travis Hamonic are both pending UFAs, and there's no real certainty on whether or not the Canucks will attempt to bring them back or not. Personally, I can see a situation where it could really go either way, but obviously Tryamkin is a really big guy. He's got big size and played relatively well, I think, in the KHL the past couple of years. Seems to be a muchly improved defenseman since his last stint in the NHL, and it does appear to be mutual interest there. I saw reports as well from his agent indicating that they were planning to talk to the Canucks and hoping to have something sorted out here in the next few weeks. So I wouldn't be completely surprised by the time the NHL regular season comes to an end that something with Tryamkin is sorted out for next season and beyond. Probably looking at a 2, maybe 3-year deal for a couple $1 million per year is what the believed asking price was for Tryamkin to re-sign here with the Vancouver Canucks. There's also reports about the future of Ottawa Senators forward Artem Anisimov. I mean, there were reports I saw today indicating that he was planning to head back to the KHL, and apparently there are also reports and comments from his agent denying that fact. However, Anisimov is a pending unrestricted free agent, and there is absolutely no doubt that his future with the Ottawa Senators does not exist. He's definitely 100% not returning to Ottawa. They obviously have a major youth movement going on. We saw many of the young guys have to work hard and battle for jobs early in the season, but a lot of veteran guys have either been moved on from or the ones that had to remain with the team because of lack of trade options will likely finish the season out with a very limited playing time as we see this young core group of players continue to get more opportunity here and grow together. But there's no doubt that he's not in the future plans of the Ottawa Senators. However, I would think that he'll likely pursue other NHL opportunities, but given how he's getting a little bit older, his play has certainly declined the past few years. I'm not really sure if there will be NHL opportunity for Anisimov, but certainly he's a veteran guy. He's a good size, like he's 6'3", 6'4", a rangy center, but certainly not as quick as he used to be, not as strong as he used to be. He's been a good character player for the Ottawa Senators, I must say, from what we've heard. He's been good around the young guys, good in the room, good with the other younger Russian players that are on the team as well. Doesn't really complain about his lack of opportunity. Seems to have accepted his role well, which is good. So you never know. Maybe the NHL opportunity will present itself for Anisimov, but I would think depending on what the options are, there probably is a better chance that he does return to the KHL. I think the agent just wants to clarify that he does indeed want to attempt the NHL first, and if things don't materialize, heading back to Russia makes a lot of sense for him at this point in his career. Now you have to wonder as well how much significant change we're going to see in the Columbus Blue Jackets organization this offseason. There's a lot of reports that coach John Tortorella will not be back. I think there's some reports out there saying that his contract is believed to be coming to an end and that the Blue Jackets will likely go in a different direction. Tortorella has not had the success with the Jackets this year. It's been a disastrous year, which I think is fair to say, in Columbus. And it appears as though that change is necessary behind the bench to really get the most out of this current group of players, and maybe a change in style also is necessary as well. We've seen a guy like Patrik Laine come over from Winnipeg and have his struggles. Max Domi has been in his doghouse, and you know what? Obviously, he's got a different style of coaching that is not for everybody. It can be effective in some ways, but certainly it just looks like his time in Columbus has come to an end. If you look at the shelf life of an NHL coach, a lot of coaches do well to survive, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons, and he's getting up there now with Columbus, so it makes a lot of sense here that if Jarmo Kekalainen doesn't go in a different direction with a head coach, he may not have any choice but to move out even more players because the frustration level seems to be extremely high. Now, there's been rumors for a long time that the Jackets are likely going to trade one of their goaltenders between Elvis or Korpisalo. One of the two is likely going to have to go with the attempt to bring back some more young forwards to work with here to become a more offensive team. That they need to be able to score more goals, be more offensive, and that's one of their best trade chips to help accomplish that. Well, based on what we've seen here in the past little while in this losing streak that the Jackets are on right now, in a recent interview with Elvis Merzlikins and post-game interview, kind of expressing how frustrating it's been and hard on the head to play through this losing streak, you can't help but wonder if he is the most likely guy to go, and maybe he will end up asking for a trade. It's difficult to say, but because of contract status and the fact that most feel Korpisalo is their number one goaltender, then it makes a lot of sense that Elvis would be the guy to be traded anyways. I was very surprised when they gave him a bigger contract than Korpisalo, but yet then last year, for example, in the playoffs, Korpisalo was the main guy in the playoffs. It's a little bit surprising, but you know what? It is what it is, and if the Jackets can have success with Korpisalo at a cheaper price tag, then that's great for them. But Korpisalo likely stays, and Elvis likely goes, is what many believe now. We know there's a lot of NHL teams that are having some question marks on what the future of their goaltending looks like, so I don't foresee there being any issues with a guy like Elvis being moved. He's a guy who seems to have a lot of personality, can certainly play an emotional style of goaltending that we've seen, which certainly shouldn't be a big shocker to see him have this post-game interview and just to really express how he's feeling and how difficult it's been. So maybe it's time for a fresh start for himself and some of his teammates. There's also talk about a guy like Max Domi maybe being on the move again too. Obviously, like I said, he's been in the doghouse with Tortorella, been a healthy scratch on multiple occasions now. And obviously that trade between Domi and Josh Anderson has not worked out well on the Columbus side of things, especially if you look at how well Josh Anderson has played with the Montreal Canadiens. But Domi is certainly in a situation where you really wonder what his future holds. But personally, I think if we get a new coach behind the bench in Columbus, that the future for guys like Domi and Patrik Laine especially will likely have a brighter future and be able to have a better chance of it working out there longer term. But they've got a lot of work to do with the Jackets organization. They're obviously, like I said, having a really down year this year, and it's really hard to say, basically looking at that roster, there's a lot of holes to fill in my opinion, and I'm just not sure how quickly they can do that. Now lastly here, I want to take a look at the Nashville Predators and center iceman Matt Duchene, who obviously signed a big ticket with them a couple of years ago in free agency, and as we know, it has not really worked out for Duchene with the Predators. A lot of players have gone to Nashville and that center ice position especially, and just not gotten it done for what they were getting paid. We saw Kyle Turris go through this as well, left Ottawa as a very productive player, could not repeat that in Nashville, signs a 6-year, $6 million per year contract, ends up getting bought out with several years left on it. We got Ryan Johansson and Matt Duchene now, both making $8 million. Fair to say that neither one of them has been an $8 million center in those contracts either. Now, there's been some recent reports and rumors that maybe Nashville could convince the Seattle Kraken to take the Duchene contract as part of the expansion draft and maybe somehow sweeten that deal and allow them to have something else as well to make it worth their while here to be able to move on from the contract. As much as Duchene's contract for the most part is pretty much untradeable, just given the fact of how expensive it is. You can't say that completely because we saw some very creative trades around the NHL trade deadline. However, to get a player at $8 million off your books, it's no easy task. And a team like Seattle coming in with no money on the books yet might have a lot easier time justifying this. Now, the only problem with Duchene, though, is there's still a fair bit of term left. So for the Kraken to do that, they're going to want some big-time sweeteners added to this deal, and Nashville might even have to retain part of that contract as well for the rest of it to make it work for the Kraken. It's still really difficult to say. Now, could this work? I think it's slim, to be completely honest, but as the report I read said, this might be Nashville's only chance to really get one of their big ticket contracts off their books, with the hope of Seattle kind of doing them a solid here. But like I said, they're not going to do that without paying dearly. They would almost certainly have to give up a first-round pick and at least another, intriguing asset to the Kraken to do that. So, like, they're going to give up a good young player and a first-rounder, which I would suspect is what it would take. That's tough pill to swallow, to be honest. I mean, as much as you want that contract to be gone so you have that cap flexibility, to lose a couple of good assets like that could really hurt long term. So it's really difficult to say what the odds are that the Nashville Predators go down this road with the Kraken and actually make this happen. But I think Ron Francis is going to be an incredibly busy guy in Seattle. There's a lot of teams that have cap issues and would love for the Kraken to take one of these guys off their hands, and there's no way they'll even consider entertaining that without some significant sweeteners. So we'll see how much of a position we have here of jockeying around and trying to make deals on the side for the expansion draft and trades like we saw with Vegas. Many NHL teams did so, and most of them did not work out in their favor. And Vegas was sitting back laughing, getting all these extra assets and these players that many teams looked upon as kind of being expendable turned out to be really solid players for them. I mean, we've seen numerous situations like Riley Smith was basically given to the Golden Knights along with Jonathan Marchessault from Florida. Like, it was basically like, take them away, take them so that you can protect something else. And they both have turned out to be solid top 6 players for Vegas. William Karlsson was a man available from Columbus as well. He was another guy. Like, they found these players that are turned out to be really solid long-term pieces, and they got them for absolutely nothing. So you have to think Seattle is going to be looking for guys like that as well, and they might do a little bit of finagling with a bad contract or two, but they're not going to take a whole lot of that on. That's for sure. I mean, at least a guy like Duchesne can play and can be somewhat productive. At least you have the hope he can bounce back compared to an older player that's at the end, like a Louis Eriksson, for example. I mean, he's going to be down to 1 year. I'd say the Canucks probably buy him out, for example, but not all contracts are in a situation where that's really a feasible option. So let me know what your thoughts are. Do you see the Nashville Predators being able to use a team like Seattle to get out of a bad contract like Matt Duchene or Ryan Johansson? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments and we'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notifications so you don't miss any future content, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.